It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show. Hey.
Yeah, so I made this for you just about an hour ago.
All right.
I made it. I mean, this starts like 3 days earlier. I basically start the dough.
See, this is why I can't cook. Because I don't think about food until I'm hungry. And I learned this a long time ago. So when you're cooking, you have to plan ahead, like I'm gonna want this, you know? And obviously you will want it. But yeah, I've never had that kind of patience.
Who cooked for you when you were growing up?
My mother cooked,
Yeah.
but she never liked it. So my mother's from South Carolina, right? And stereotypical black Southern family.
Right.
A lot of good food, a lot of, just big meals and this and that. So, but my mother.
Is that where you were born?
No, I was born in New York. My mother had moved to New York, Queens, right. So my mother was the sister who had no interest in cooking. As a matter of fact, I was telling a friend yesterday, because she's like, her kids came home for the quarantine. So she's like, I got 4 adult children in this house, it's too much. And I told her, listen, my mother, she believed in independence. So when I was 13, my brother's 3 years older, my sister's 2 years older. So she had 3 kids in 3 years. We were a tight unit.
Yeah.
When I hit 13, she said, look, this ain't a restaurant. I'm cooking once. If you're here, you can eat. If you're not here, you'll figure it out. And that's what she meant. So when I moved to LA, right, I have an aunt, well, she's passed, but I had an aunt in San Francisco, and she was the cook of the family.
Your mom's sister.
Yeah, and I used to drive up there once a month to eat and stock up on food. It was like, yeah, Niece, I'm here, my Tupperware's empty, let's go.
What was her name?
Altanice, they called her Niece. She was such a good cook, and she was a jazz lover.
Oh, nice.
She had a club, it was called Bright Moments Jazz Appreciation. The deal she would do is, if you're a jazz musician playing in town, she would cook for you, but you had to play something at the elementary school to expose the kids to jazz.
Wow.
It was, but you go to her
great.
house and it'd be like, was that Herbie Hancock? Herbie came over for some smoked turkey and greens and sweet potatoes, and this is like, she had, Art Blakey and all these famous jazz guys.
Oh my God.
They all knew her. And they were like, yeah, when you're in San Francisco, you got to go to Nee's house, get something to eat, and then go up the street to the school and play a set.
That is amazing.
She was fantastic. She was great.
Was she tied to the school?
No, she did it because, when her kids were little, my cousins were little, I think it's a school they went to.
Right.
It was a neighborhood school, and she was one of those like, hey, nobody's going to expose these kids to jazz. Like jazz is, so she loved the music so much that she would do that. And also, you know what it's like on tour. If you knew there was somebody, like not just some random crazy fan, but a real person that other comics were like, hey Tom, when you're in Iowa, you got to stop at, so-and-so's house. They're going to cook for it. And you knew it was going to be good. And all you got to do is a 5-minute set.
Oh, God, absolutely. That's the difference between comedians and rock stars, by the way.
Yeah.
Like rock stars would go to a town, they're like, there's this girl.
Right.
She'll meet you backstage. And comedians are like, who's going to give me food?
It really is a sad life. It's just not what they think.
Just to put our little discussion in context, because I was just realizing that I'm wearing my scarf. This is my mask. This is my COVID mask. And Alonzo has one down there too.
I got the coolest mask.
We were both.
I don't know if your cameras can see this.
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
The Clippers sent this.
Oh, very cool.
As a Clipper ticket holder, they sent us masks. And I was like, all right. So,
I bought one for the Yankees. Not the Yankees themselves, but a third-party thing with the Yankees, and I think they just took my money because
it's still waiting.
That's New York. They're not sending me a mask.
Clippers
send one without even asking.
New York, we donated your mask to a hospital.
Yeah, but you are the first person to actually sit here in my beautiful set and have the talk with me. Yeah, but it is, just for context, we are in the middle of of the pandemic right now. The only reason that we're sitting here together is because we were both tested this week.
Yes.
And we are clear.
We're clear.
Knock
We
wood.
had the blood test, and we're good.
Yeah.
You know, that always feels good, right? We
Yeah.
were talking about this. Is there any medical test that you don't want to be negative?
That you don't want to be negative. Yeah.
Whenever you get a test and they're like, the test results came in, you're negative, you're like, perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you're never looking for a positive.
I know.
I can't think of any. I can't think of
Yeah.
any medical procedure where you're like, man, I hope this one comes up positive.
Yeah,
Like,
no, you're right.
Negative is always the answer.
Yeah, but I got to say, there was a little part of me that was like, if I have already had it and it's behind me, and I'm so strong that I beat it, I would have kind of taken that, but no.
No, I didn't want that, because
Yeah.
they say for some people it comes back. Like that's
Comes back anyway.
The thing about this pandemic is it's completely unknown. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm strange in that I listen to scientists rather than politicians.
So weird.
But all of them, and I even have a friend. She's a scientist for the Red Cross. She does blood testing and this and that, and she's like, yeah, we don't know. She's like, this is new. She said there's been things like it,
Yeah.
but she said, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, no, it's a little frightening. So, no, when you're home now during this time, and you don't cook, how you eat?
Well, takeout
Mm-hmm.
is some, breakfast is easy. I can do breakfast, right?
Yeah.
I can do bacon, eggs, cereal, whatever.
What's your
stuff like
go-to?
that.
What's when you've got time and you're home, you're
Bacon
back
and
off
eggs.
the road?
Bacon eggs
Yeah.
would be the go-to, or waffles.
How much bacon do you make?
4 slices. That's it.
4.
I'm limit. Bacon. Bacon is something like there's no upper limit. You got to cut yourself off.
You just have to.
My
Like a
girl,
dog with a ball.
like the girl I'm dating, she's vegetarian, and we joke about bacon because I'm like, you know, it would make that kale really good. Some bacon,
Yeah.
So her thing is like, just tell me you're not eating bacon every day. And it's like, no, not every day, but
Yeah.
but bacon's easy and it's always good.
It
you
is
know?
easy. It fills the house.
And it's
with a
one
good
of those
smell.
things that even if you burn it, still ain't bad. Like what they say, like bad pizza,
Right.
still ain't that bad.
I know, exactly.
But no, I'll tell you, that's something. The thing I've been staying away from because it's too easy and tempting are things like pizza,
Yeah.
burgers, stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of chicken. And the grocery stores now, the deli has good food.
I
Salads and different kind of like baked chicken and
All prepared.
crab cakes and things like that. So I'll buy that and just take it home and heat it up.
Right.
That's probably my staple.
Yeah.
But yeah, a few times a week, I do my part to help small business.
Right?
know?
I know. I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, I'm so full of it. I'm like, I'm really just helping our local business. It's like, no, I just want barbecue again.
Oh man, you can't go wrong with barbecue. But see, barbecue is something you can always justify. It's like, well, these are sweet potatoes. That's a superfood.
Right.
Right. And
Collard greens, very good
beans
for
are
you.
always good for you. Collard greens full of
Yeah.
vitamins, and underneath that sauce is chicken. So
Underneath that heavy, sugary sauce.
this is a healthy meal, right?
We had some good meals recently. We had a good one in Chicago together
Yes.
when we were doing Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Chicago is a good food city.
Yeah.
But you have to time it right. Mm-hmm. Me and Heffron, we randomly met each other in Chicago. Like we were doing 2 different things, happened to be at the same time. And we tried to find dinner early at about 5 o'clock. Couldn't find it.
Oh, really?
Every place was, we're between lunch and dinner. Like you could find it at the faster food places or what do they call them, casual restaurants. Well, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a name for it.
Right.
But the Chicago places, like where you
Staple.
want to go have, they were all like, no, we start serving dinner at 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
That's the whole thing about being on the road is literally, I mean, people think it's our act and, how good a show you're going to do. It's really 90% is when and where are we going to eat.
that's why you like, and we talked about this, right? In Cleveland.
Right.
Polarities.
Yeah.
Nick
No, that's
will
right.
feed you.
That's right.
Nick will feed you, and it will be good. And the other thing is, I don't know about you, but I like eating after the show. I don't like to eat before the show.
I know, I'm the same way.
And it's impossible to find real food, like, say you're doing, even on a 2-show Friday,
Yeah.
so I want to eat between shows, say between 9:30, it's too late.
Yeah.
You can't get food. You can, but when you're with Nick,
Yeah.
have a seat.
It's so funny. Isn't it funny? I mean, he's one of the most beloved guys in comedy.
He's a fantastic
The
guy.
owner of this club.
Yeah.
And it's literally only because he feeds us. He's not that great a guy.
Mike Lacey, Comedy and Magic.
Yeah.
Comedy and Magic is like where you're not even doing a set. You're just like, hey, I'm near Comedy Magic and I'm
Yeah.
hungry. Let me go hit the green room, right? And Mike will feed you.
He gets like both those guys get offended if you don't eat.
If you don't
like
eat.
at your grandmother's house. It's like they really like their heart is broken. Like
Yeah.
you find yourself eating just to get them off your back and make them feel okay.
And like you said, this is the conversation that rock stars don't have.
No.
They don't know. They don't know that. They don't know a Nick.
No, not at all.
Their Nick hooks them up with this chick or
Cocaine.
with the drugs or something like
Yeah,
that, man.
exactly.
Nick, which one? The one with the blow. Oh yeah, I know that Nick.
Yeah.
No, our Nick got pork chops.
Right, exactly. He once sent me home after the last show on Sunday was all over. You're flying out the next morning. It's all done, and there's a knock at my hotel. It's 10 o'clock at night, and you just want to kind of pack up and get some sleep and go. And he sent one of the waiters over with 2 like giant bags, like big shopping bags filled with chicken dishes and desserts and all this. I'm like, I'm by myself, and I'm only here for 2 more hours.
Mike Lacey did that. I had an accident. I broke my arm on a motorcycle, broke my wrist.
How'd you do that?
So I was in the cast. We were doing a track day, so we practice on the tracks, not racing.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because on Wikipedia, somebody put down that I raced Ducatis and all this. I was so flattered I did not correct the article. I was like, wow, I'm good. Yeah, leave that up. But anyway, Mike Lacey says to me, he says, well, I know you're hurt, so if you want, I can send someone to bring dinner to your house. And it's like, I lived in Studio City. He's,
Right.
to those listening, it's 20 miles apart.
Right.
But with LA traffic, it's an hour and a half easy. And he would have actually sent, and how mad would that waiter have been if I had said, yeah, Mike, send dinner over.
Right, exactly.
Some poor staff member is like, son of a bitch, I'm sitting in traffic. I ain't DoorDash.
I wonder if they're doing takeout from the club because they always have good food.
I don't know. I haven't
be
even looked
interesting.
into that because some places are.
Yeah, right, exactly.
My favorite story about that, I don't know if you heard about this, but there's a strip club in Portland
Oh, Boober?
doing drive-through stripping. No, they have like a tent, and you drive through, and the girls dance. But the way they're open is they sell food, so it's open under the carryout. Because of course that's why you go to the stripper tent, for the chicken wings. That's why
Right.
you're there. But I love stuff like that because that is the entrepreneurial spirit, right?
That's America.
I'm gonna make money somehow. I'm gonna. Yeah.
There was another one in Portland that was Boober. They started Boober.
Right.
And
Yeah.
strippers would come and bring your food to your door.
Yeah, your wife's gonna love that one, right? Yeah,
I know.
Like I see the things out here, the van for the topless maids.
Uh-huh.
Because
Right.
I
always
was
see
very
that.
iffy about having cleaner, 'cause
Yeah.
the woman who normally does my house clean, she's like, look, I can't, my kid's home and I gotta be home, I can't do it. And I was
Yeah,
like, okay.
yeah.
So a friend of mine uses this cleaning service and she said, no, they're really good and they come over with the gloves and the masks, they're clean and they do the house. So I hired them, but I was like, hey, I wonder if the topless maids would be good right now.
They'd be
I'm
clean.
sure.
I'm sure they're clean.
I'm sure they do a good job.
They wipe everything down.
How'd you hire your maids? Well, the back of a van. There was a van parked that had a phone number. You just, no.
So how long have you been dating a vegetarian?
Let's see, since August.
Wow.
So
That's a long time.
yeah, and we're good. Like I eat food and she does vegetarian. It's like, yeah.
My wife's a vegetarian.
Is she?
And my 2 daughters. So I'm the only one in the house that's not. Mm-hmm. And
Do you get flack for that? Do they
yeah,
try to guilt you?
a little bit. But what's really funny is we have a dog now. We have a black lab. And my wife, who really would be kind of like, what are you eating that for? And ugh, that, you know, now it's like, do you have anything extra for Bella? Anything in the fridge? Like, she loves to feed the dog. The dog gets so happy. She loves feeding the dog meat. So now I get like a free pass.
You get
just
a better
so she
meal.
can make the dog happy. When it was just me for 20 years.
This is
Nothing.
perfect for you, though. You know what? You know what you can use? This is your time to get barbecue beef ribs. You know, those big like dinosaur, because that's great for a dog. You're like, I don't even want these, but Bella
needs them, right? That's where the baking comes in. Is that that's like the one thing that we all do at the same. Like we can all eat that stuff because no one's vegan, so there's still butter and eggs and all that kind of stuff thrown in there. But yeah, man, I want to go back to. Are you a jazz fan now? Did you?
Oh yeah, I've always been a jazz fan, and I started doing the jazz cruises like 10 years ago. So I've gotten to know a lot of these musicians.
Really?
And so I love it. And I was literally just on the phone with my friend Marcus Miller, who's a jazz bassist, composer, and everything else. And we do the cruises together, right? And the joke on the cruises, I always say, like, he can play something Miles Davis wrote 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're like, Marcus is a genius. Like, I'll do a show on Monday, and if I don't have new material for my second show on Thursday, right? And I'm a hack, you know. So now, they're doing it online, a musician, and he said, man, it's like every time they want a new show, and I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world, Marcus. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, gotta come up with a new song every few days, don't you? You know, so, but no, I love jazz, man. I love the creativity.
Yeah, I know. Did you like it because of your aunt?
That was part of it, but no, I don't even remember how I was first exposed to jazz. Well, we listened to it. You know, my parents listened to it, and you just so I just heard it.
Yeah, it was just around.
And you know what it was? It was the fact, like they're masters of their instrument. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to Chick Corea play a piano, you're like, that's what a piano can do. You know, and it's one thing to listen to, and I like hip hop and stuff like that, even like some rock. Some rock is cool. Yeah. And it's good, but when you hear jazz musicians, you're like, wow, that's really musicianship. You know, that's really.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and again, and you know, just like you, like, you know, and I'm not kissing his ass, people. He knows I'm a fan. But seriously, like your Netflix special,
right?
When you stood at a microphone and talked,
right?
And it's like, ladies and gentlemen, that's how it's done. That is pure stand up. No jumping around, no cartwheels, no humping the stool, no singing. Just I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna do. You know, I love that. I mean, I move around on stage. I don't move around as much as I think. Yeah. I think I'm moving like Chris Rock, like a panther. Then I see me and I'm like, oh, you took 3 steps.
No, you're pretty. No, you're right. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you'll kind of pace, but it's really slow. Like 2 places this way and then maybe go back a little. But that's what it came from. Was literally just I wanted to see if I was mugging too much, if I was adding to it, and was I covering up material that could have been stronger? Right. So then I said, well, if I just leave it there, then it's just the words that are going to be tested, and then I just got into the habit. Then I just haven't taken it out since. Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. I remember one time at the Laugh Factory, I sat on the stool and was talking, because I used to do that at Dublin's all the time. So I just sat there, and I come off, and Dom's like, tired? You know, Dom Herrera is like, tired? Couldn't stand for the full 20 minutes? Wearing you out up there? Yeah. I was like, all right, Dom, I get it. I'll stand up. No more sitting down. I get the message. I don't know if I see you. I guess you do a little bit of crowd stuff.
Oh, I love doing it. I love doing it, man.
Yeah, but I never get to see your long sets. Do you want water? Do you want some water?
Yeah. Do we have water here?
Can we have some waters? I just realized what a bad host I am.
We got a crew?
I have the whole thing is breaking bread and enjoying sitting down. But let me get you some water.
Yeah, no, I'm good. But no, I love doing crowd work, and it's funny because Dublin's. I used to improvise whole shows, and there are times on the ships where I'll improvise the entire thing just because it's fun. Right. You know, you know how that is. It's
great.
It's fun and it's freedom. Like when Todd Barry did the crowd work tour, I was kind of like, oh, we could do that?
Yeah.
Like I wish I had
allowed?
known.
Right.
Because when I was coming up in this,
because not everybody's good at it.
what they taught me, what they told me was
You're the best.
that's lazy, right? That's like you're not writing. That's lazy.
I know, but did they really tell us that, or is that just us thinking?
There was one guy I know who he specifically said that, and what I tell comics, right? Because they ask me, I'm like, look, learn your act first, and then you can improv.
Right.
Because when new comics or people who don't do comedy
that.
watch it, they think, oh, well, I'll just go up there and just talk because I'm funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, I think you got to have a foundation before you do it.
For sure. But the thing that you have, which is probably developed through a combination of both, is you do have that. There are certain comics that you watch them and you think, oh, this guy could say anything. You could read out of the phone book and make it funny thing.
Oh, thanks.
And that's because there's no difference between right now you speaking just as my friend and the guy on like you. So it's the natural cadence of that. So it makes the people don't see the work. I know the work that you put into all those jokes, but it sounds so effortless that the people think, well, this guy's just talking to me right now.
No, thank you, because in anything, right, they say that's when you really got it, when you don't look like, when it looks effortless, when it looks like anyone could do it.
Right, exactly.
When it looks like anyone, you have to be really good to make it look like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from the love of it. I still love it.
Yeah.
I still love it.
Exactly.
And it's like I've been lucky, and you get the money and the whatever, this and that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, I still love it. That's why we still do the spots around town, right? That's why you still you don't ask if it's hey, where's my $40? It's like, no, man, I just want to. I mean, even now during the pandemic, I've been doing those Laugh Factory live streams.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Were you going in the afternoon and perform in front of like 2 people? Does it feel like a set?
No.
No, not even close.
The good thing is that because that's my home club and I've been on that stage 1,000 times, I'm super comfortable there. And I do sometimes, I'll go into a bit and I'm doing it looking around like there is an audience, but
are there just a couple of people in masks at least?
Yeah, there's the other, maybe 1 or 2 other comics and the tech guy running the, running the computer and stuff. So you will get laughs on occasion, but it's I mean, I joke about it. You can't not joke about the situation of, I wish nobody's here. Like, I'm putting this out there and I have no idea if it's funny.
Yeah.
Especially when you do something new, because the pandemic jokes come up, the quarantine joke. There's nowhere to run them.
Right. No, exactly.
So you're just doing it and like, I hope that was funny. It was funny in my head.
Yeah. It's a different thing. Like I do these monologues for Live From Here, the NPR show.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much stand-up.
Right.
And when I'm not there live, I'll record them just like a podcast, like sitting in my office. And they would play them for a while. They would play them in front of the audience when I wasn't there. And it was funny to hear it get laughs where I thought it would get laughs. But then other things didn't get laughs where I thought and I would pause for the joke, let some air go. But you can, like, I've been thinking, like, why can't I go do these kind of shows? I think it's because it's dressed up as stand-up. Like, if it was dressed up as just a radio show, I do it all the time, so why not just go do it? But knowing that it's not stand-up, for some reason that bugs me.
See, for me, it was like, okay, here's a new challenge.
Yeah.
Here's something, because I like a new challenge. I don't want to get bored.
Yeah.
And also, like, we don't know what our business is going to be.
Yeah.
I did hear, like, we were talking about it beforehand. Someone said that someone did a drive-through, drive-in movie kind of thing where everyone sat in their cars.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine in Vegas, he said, yes, stand-up would be the easiest entertainment to bring back because it's one person on a stage with a microphone, and he's like, and then you could sit the people 6 feet apart, 8 feet apart, and he said you could even do it outdoors, and I was like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be exactly the same, but it would be
close.
It would be close, So.
I mean, think about coming up. How many shows you did in front of 10 people?
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean coming up? Look at you with your following, just bragging.
But really, I've been thinking about that. It's like, there's so many shows in front of nobody forever. So like, who cares? If you gave me a show, if you told me, I'm sorry, we're so sorry, but we're only going to have 10, 20 people in the audience, I would be elated at this point.
Yeah, it's
be so happy.
It's a thing. Yeah, a lot of our old skills are coming back. Mm-hmm. You know, just like, yeah, this, you got to work for nobody.
Yeah.
So this is the 1 a.m. spot.
Right.
Right. This is
Right.
the 1 a.m. spot after a major headliner was at the club. You know, like Chris Rock was there from 11 to midnight.
Yeah.
Now you're on at 1.
As people are getting their
two
coats.
people who didn't have anywhere to go.
And they're drunk.
Everyone else, they saw Chris Rock, they're good, they're going home. But those two people are still here, and you're gonna do your 20.
When you hang out with the jazz guys, do they have that thing, the jazz artists, do they have that thing of they look at you like, I don't get what you're doing?
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody famous said that like every comic wants to be a musician and every musician wants to be a comic.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. They're like, man, this is what they always say, and you know this because actors say the same thing. Like, you're just up there alone.
Yeah.
You know, like Marcus told me one time. He said, man, if I'm off, you know, then I just give it to the drummer.
Right.
Just you solo, you know.
Yeah.
He's like, but
You
if you're off, you ain't got no one behind you.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have it any other way.
No.
So it's normal to us. But
the life is different. The life is similar. Like that's the thing. They're almost like cousins. You know what I mean? They're not real brothers. We're brothers. They're like cousins. They're like they travel the same way, eat the same way, have all that stuff. But up there, it's just a slightly different. It's like a
but even the travel because they travel with a band.
Right.
So
and
they do have.
and they're always checking their luggage.
They're not eating alone the way we do. You know, I've always found our odd cousins are strippers. That's living the comic
closer.
life.
Yeah.
Because it's even the same titles, right? Features and headliners, and they travel alone.
Right.
And the other thing is, it's not as glamorous as people think.
Right.
And I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, I know what you mean.
But yeah, it's not
Everything other than the performance.
right. And for strippers, it's the same way. It's like this is not as glamorous as you think.
Yeah.
This is, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we gravitate toward each other,
right?
You know, as far as just being able to talk about it, you know, and we even have the same like screw ups in our business, you know, like the drunk comic or the meth head stripper, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we even have that where the vices inherent in the business could destroy you.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You know? So
when you're on the road, do you don't? Will you go to a restaurant by yourself? Like, will you go sit?
Yeah, I'm
have
I'm
a
at
proper
the point,
meal, like a.
once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm at the point I'll do anything myself now
Yeah.
because you just get used to it. Like,
Yeah.
like, wow, you go to the movies by yourself? Like, I love when people say, like, yeah, to the point where I remember I took this girl to the movies, and it was like the Sunday night when Monday was a holiday, one of those. And I was freaking out because I'm so used to going to the movies Tuesday afternoon. I'm like, there's all these people, like, we gotta wait. Like, I was like, and she was like, you're really free. I was like, yeah, I don't do this. Like, this is, and she was like, you don't want to go? I was like, no, I really don't want to go. And then she said, let's get our money back. And I was like, what? And she said, yeah, you just go get your money. I said, I didn't know you could do that. Like, I thought once you bought a movie ticket,
Yeah, you're locked.
that's theirs. You know? And she's like, no, you just go in and tell them you want to go see it. And it was funny because to her it was so normal.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just fascinated by all of it. I'm like, wait, it's this, you know, it's when you're a comic and you see how people live.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's interesting.
I know. Well, it's so weird how much time you spend outside of like normal life. Like you don't do those, like even in the city you live in, you don't go to those places where everybody else goes. You know where the Laugh Factory is, you know where the Comedy Magic is, and a couple places to eat. There's no like experiencing the rest of it.
Even now, the craziest thing is we're operating in the daytime now.
I know. Isn't that weird?
And our time,
it's like it's a bunch of
our time
Draculas.
of operation, there's nothing going on. So people like this, like we're doing this podcast in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And, the live stream is at 2 in the afternoon, and this or that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, man, but I'm coming into my prime at 10 p.m. Like that's when I'm ready to go to work. And
I know.
There's nothing to do.
A bunch of vampires that have been thrown out into the sunlight. When you're cruising around and you're those times when you're spent and you're tired, it's another city, another place, another thing, and you have time to actually eat something that's going to make you feel okay, like that comfort meal. What is that for you?
Two things. The barbecue is one, and Italian food.
Ah, nice.
Love Italian food.
Nice.
And it just, like good
Did
Italian
you? Well,
food.
now you were Queens as a kid.
Yeah.
So you must have been surrounded by, some of my favorite bakeries in the world are in Queens.
Yeah, there was, it's interesting where I grew up. So I grew up in an area called St. Albans, Southeast Queens. And when I was growing up, which would be 60s, 70s, I left in 1980 when I hit 18, but it was like a working class black neighborhood.
Okay.
But then it kind of devolved more toward the hood, And I used to do a joke, and this is true. Like, I didn't know I grew up in the hood until 50 Cent mentioned it in a song. And I was like, wait a minute, what happened? What, But one thing about that, so the food you get, it's like really cool, but it is what they would call soul food. Like there's the fish fry place where you point to the fish and they fry it up, and that kind of stuff is delicious, and the barbecue joint where there isn't really a menu, you just, everyone knows what they have, right?
Yeah.
So you just order it and stuff like that. And we had, what we had that was really good? We had a lot of Jamaican food.
Ooh.
Because this was when Jamaican people were starting to come in to New York. The West Indian people from the islands were starting to come into New York.
Oh, man.
So there was, the beef patty place and the curry, the Jamaican
jerk
stuff
chicken.
was really good, the jerk chicken. And then, so as far as bakeries, there were some, but that wasn't the...
Yeah, that's not
what the neighborhood food was. The neighborhood food was definitely the soul food places, like I say, the fish fry, the barbecue, the chicken shack, and
So where was the Italian?
all of that. I don't know where the Italian food came in. Partly it came in. My mom would make spaghetti and stuff like that because it's easy.
Yeah.
My mom liked easy, so spaghetti was easy.
The one meal of the day.
Yeah,
And was the one meal of the day always dinner? Was that her meal that she ate?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
My mom had no problem with sending the kids to McDonald's. She's like, no, that's why they made McDonald's. Here's $3, now go eat. But again, this was at a time before McDonald's was horrible. You know what I mean? That's why, like, it's funny to me, and you know this. We're ballpark same age.
Yeah.
Like we used to eat everything that nowadays it's like it'd kill you. It's like no, it won't. You're a kid. Like you know how many calories you burn as a kid.
Yeah.
Your only speed is moving. Like you know what I mean? So so it's like they pump junk into you. But you were probably burning it off. You're playing stickball in the street, football. You're running, this, that, the other, and they had to tell you to stop running.
That's a really good point.
So,
and then also I think that they got even better at how they were delivering fat and salts to you and sugar. Like it got I bet the way they were making fast food back then wasn't as refined and potent as it is now.
Right.
Now they're just packing.
Yeah, now they get you. Now it really does become an addiction.
Yeah.
But also, we got lazy kids now.
And that part that they're not moving.
And there was just something recently on some show, an animated show or whatever. It was about free range kids. Which is what we were.
Yeah, I know.
We were, you just go outside.
And you didn't come back.
Right.
You literally didn't come back.
And they didn't want you back.
No.
Like, stay out there,
The idea of sitting around the living room was unheard of.
My mother never used the word hydrate. She was like, all right, when you're thirsty, you'll get something to drink. I don't think I need to teach you.
She didn't even
How
think
dumb
about
are the kids? Are we raising kids that are so dumb that they're like, I am dying of thirst and I have no idea what to do.
I know. I mean, you would just get on your bike and just go, and you would just be out until it was dark.
And when you needed to hydrate, there was a garden hose, right?
Right.
It didn't have to be yours.
No.
It was a hose somewhere, and you turned on the hose and you drank it. And
Would you walk into other kids' homes?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the best?
Yeah.
Think about that. Just having a strange kid come in. You see someone in the refrigerator, and you don't own this kid. This isn't yours.
A lot of those things were better.
Yeah.
And so, and the food, when you talk about baking, you know who could bake? My sister could bake. Mm. And my sister would bake these chocolate chip cookies, man. And they were so good. Like, the guys would come over, and when she stopped baking was when she made a batch of cookies and she didn't get one. Like we were like locusts. It was like you could smell it, and we dropped whatever we were doing. Yeah. We just went in the house, and, you know, like looked like Homer Simpson and Bart, you know. And she was like, "No more." I didn't even get one. It was like, "Hey, you got to be fast." You know?
That's funny. So I wonder where she learned that. She probably taught herself then. If your mom wasn't.
No. She learned that. I think some was from my mom, and also But now that you mention it, I'm not sure where. Not sure where.
Picks it up.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's interesting because my daughters are getting into baking, and my wife taught them a lot of basics. Like I bake bread, and my wife is really, really annoyed because everybody knows me for baking bread, and they think that I'm like this baker, but that's really all I bake. Like the baking of like real pastry and that kind of stuff, the precision, I'm not really that good at. And my wife is like, why is everyone walking around thinking you're the baker?
You know.
But my kids have gotten into it, and the same thing. They're like, they just kind of like, now they're off in the woods exploring and teaching themselves and getting their own thing going. But I know, like, I don't want them to become an adult and think and not know exactly where it all came from.
Yeah.
Like, I like that it's coming from us. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like when they know like what really good bread is, it's going to be because I surrounded them with it. And
right, that's great to learn what good food is and how it tastes. And you know, I know women who can cook, and they're like, you have people who cook with a recipe, and they're like, no, I know how to cook.
Right.
You know, I know how to go in the kitchen and take what's there, and it takes a pinch of this and a scoop, and none of it's measured. They just know, and then at the end, it's a meal that's unbelievable.
My mother gave us, she's a really good cook, and she printed out all of her recipes and gave it to everyone for Christmas, everyone in the family, so that we had it. But it's hilarious to look at them, because like her tomato sauce is like, there's no measurements.
Right.
It's tomatoes, onion, beef, tomato paste. And I gave it to a friend of mine, and they're like, yeah, but how much of all this? I'm like, well, that you gotta follow your instinct.
Yeah, my friend Ava, and Ava's where I'd go like to eat.
Yeah.
You know, just, it was funny.
This is when you were a kid?
No, this is when I was here, when I moved here.
Okay.
I met Ava in like my second apartment, like she lived in the building. We had a crazy building. It was like Melrose Place. Everybody did, but she could really cook.
Yeah.
And I would just go over and eat. Like, she might have a boyfriend, and she'd be like, yeah, that's Alonzo, don't worry about him. And I'm like, no, I'm no threat to you, just here. But don't think of getting between me and that fridge, because, you know. But the first time, it was Thanksgiving, and she was, I don't know, like 23 or something, you know? And she made a full Thanksgiving dinner, and it was good.
Right.
And I was like, how'd you learn? Like, this is grandmother cooking. Like, you're not old enough to be able to cook like this, you know? And she said, she said, well, I, you know, used to be in the kitchen with my mom, and then my mom got sick, and I took over the cooking. But she's one of those, like, if you ask her, you know, how much of this you put in the greens, or how much you should, like, you just do it, you know? And it's like, no, you don't just do it. I've been around people who just do it. They don't do it like you do it.
Right.
You do it like you're a 78-year-old grandmother. You know?
But those grandmothers come from someplace. Right? It comes from starting it off.
But they know, you know, they know how to, and what's funny about that, that's also a cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
So like a black grandmother, Italian grandmother, Jewish grandmother, whatever.
Yeah.
Like grandmother cooking is a different level.
No, completely.
Yeah, it's
completely.
And they can all do it in their own food.
And you know what's really interesting about it is that, especially now, like when you find that during this crazy time that we're going through, people are having to cook for themselves. Yeah. Right? Takeout everyone was scared for a while. It was all closed up for a while, and it all of a sudden became just a practical thing that you do.
Right.
You're living with 3 people. They need to eat. How are you going to feed them?
Mm-hmm.
Where the only cooking that was kind of happening up until now was a lot of, well, like a foodie cooking and
Right.
specialty cooking.
Yeah,
and
you
all
watch
this,
the
a big
Food
project
Channel and
and
all
like
that,
this
right.
big thing. And then it's like, no, you know what? We're 7 weeks in. I got to crank out another meal. I'm just going to do, and that's what our grandmothers did. That's what our
Right, they fed people.
They fed people. It wasn't about being artistic. It wasn't about all this stuff. They just literally fed people. And it's interesting to see like what they were making wasn't like anything completely off the wall special. It was dry pasta. It was like something
Right,
from a can.
it was chicken,
but
it was simple food, but they made it.
They made it. That's the key. It came from them.
Yeah.
And them doing it and giving it to you.
Right.
There's love involved in that. There's something that's memorable in that.
So I wonder, it won't be around, but when the millennials become grandparents, like 50 years from now,
Yeah.
are we going to go to grandmother's house for a kale salad? Are we going to go for some gluten-free bread? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or are they going to have let it go by then and be like,
Yeah.
no, let's eat?
Well, I think what you find, especially now that like people, look, I love restaurants. I love other people making my food for me. But what I found is like we're eating all our meals at home. We're just making all the meals. And no one's gaining weight. We're not eating pure
Well,
kale.
that's because you got a house full of vegetarians.
Well, it's that, but it's also, but they're eating pasta and they're eating, but it's real food.
Yeah.
Like even the best food you'll get in a restaurant is going to have a ton of sugar and butter on it.
That's true.
That's you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of eating normal stuff. So to your thing of like, I think as long as you're eating real food, I think people find that they're healthier for it. Like even the gluten thing. People have been eating bread for thousands of years.
Right.
It wasn't because bread all of a sudden out of nowhere was giving people problems. There's so many other added things into bread that's making people sick. And I have some friends, look, if you're celiac or have a real problem, that's one thing, but this border trying to figure out what's wrong with you, I have friends that eat this bread and they have no problem because it's only flour, water, salt, and yeast. That's all that's in it.
I have a friend, you might know her, you know Liz Mealy.
Yeah.
Right. So Liz really has the gluten allergy.
Right.
And she said the worst thing for her is the fad of gluten-free because places will lie about something being gluten-free because it's a fad, right?
Really?
It was for a period of fad diet. And she said, but it was like, so what you think might put on a few pounds could kill me.
Right, yeah.
So she's much more conscious of it. She has to be.
Yeah.
And the other thing in talking about healthy, and this is funny because, we all make fun of Florida.
Right.
And justifiably.
Yeah, that's what they even make fun of it.
But they showed the farmers market in Brentwood.
Yeah.
There was no social distancing going on. It was like all these people were packed in trying to get their organic avocados and stuff. And it's like, you understand, you're breathing who knows what under the guise of getting this healthy food. It's one of those things like it's when common sense, like people like, oh, he's rubbing his eye. My hands are clean. All right, so stop it. Don't judge me. But when common sense, it's almost like it's situational.
Yeah.
Right. So
I know.
I'm gonna ignore.
Right.
I'm gonna ignore these healthy recommendations.
Right.
So I can buy healthy food.
Right. I know.
Because the food at the grocery store is processed. It's like, but
I know. It's almost like I feel like we all do it. We all do it.
Everyone
tries to do the best
our own thing.
Right. You do all the right things, and then all of a sudden you do something stupid. It's because you can't help it. But I feel like that's okay because you're just cutting down you're putting the odds in your favor. If I do 12 things and mess up the last 2. All right, no one.
Yeah, and we're human.
Right.
We're human, and therefore fallible, and it's just one of those things. I mean, but it's common sense.
Yeah.
But there are certain things, and we will risk it for certain things.
Yeah, you don't seem overly emotional.
No, not externally. And compared to my dad, I'm an emotional mess. To give you an idea how stoic he was.
Really?
Yeah.
He was a rock?
My dad, honestly, and this is the honest truth, he had prostate cancer for a year before any of us knew about it.
Oh my God.
He's like, no, you go to work, Well, he was
What did he
retired
do?
then, but he was with sanitation. He worked for Department of Sanitation
In Queens?
No, actually, he worked in Brooklyn.
Oh, in Brooklyn.
But we lived in Queens.
Right.
But anyway, he's from that generation where
Right.
you don't show anything. You know, you don't give up anything. So,
Yeah. Did you ever see him cry?
No, I don't think I've ever seen him cry. Although when my sister had her kids, especially when the first one was born, his first grandchild, even my mother said, yeah, I've never seen this man before. They were married 50 years, and she was like, I've never seen this man before in my life. I have no idea who this is.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Isn't that crazy how that could happen? Was he a big dude like you?
Yeah, I'm bigger, but he was like 6'1", 210.
Right.
So, you know.
Right.
Grandchildren bring out something like that's a whole different level.
I know. I don't
And
even...
under perfect or good circumstances. You know, I always say that I feel I was very lucky because I did have that grandmother who lived on a farm in South Carolina who fed us too much, who did, like, I got the full grandmother experience.
Yeah.
You know, you could do no wrong.
Right.
You know, he burned down 3 houses. Well, it's not his fault.
I know. I know. They love you no matter what.
Grandmothers, you know, I have a friend with a son, and we were talking about it. I said, no, it's not the only child.
Yeah.
It's the only grandchild that gets spoiled.
That gets really spoiled.
And I'm like that, you know, when a niece or a nephew, like I don't know how to say no.
No, I know.
To them.
It's interesting. It's a different level of acceptance in a way. Like I've thought about that. Like the way my grandmother would act to me, I can't act that way with my kids. Mm-hmm. Like if my daughter does something bad in school or messes something up, my grandmother would just go, "Oh, you're so silly, Alonzo. It's okay. You know, like you said, you burn the place down. That's all right." But you can't do that with your child.
Right.
And I don't know if it's just our feeling like that I need to guide them and protect them and teach them lessons, or if that doesn't really matter in the end. If I just was on grandmother is just on pure love mode.
Yeah, I think grandparents are on pure love, and they've been through it.
So maybe they know
know.
that maybe you're acting too.
Oh, I
strict
remember.
In a way?
You know, my sister, like a lot of young parents, she bought a book. You
right.
know, and she's showing my mother this book, and my mother was like, I raised you. Like, you know, a book?
Yeah.
Suddenly I need a book to raise a child, you know, and
It's not happening.
No, I don't think my mom opened that book. I think that book was I think her and the other grandmothers sit around like, and then she brought out a book. You know, that's like that's a grandmother laugh, right?
Yeah.
She had a book.
Right.
Child, let me tell you something about your book, you know. But when it comes to food, though, when it comes to eating, grandmothers, there's no healthy eating. There's no time for cupcakes or cookies.
Right.
What time? Yeah, when the kid wants a cookie, then it's time for cookies. There's no you gotta have dinner first.
No.
Like, and as a kid, you know that, right? You know to go to grandma. you know when you're shady. You know when your game is shady. You know who to go to.
Right. Oh man.
I feel like some burgers. Let me go see grandma and tell her I need some McDonald's money.
Right.
You know?
Did she live near you?
No, she was in South Carolina.
She
so
was.
I would spend the summer down there every year.
Oh, wow.
And it was really
That must
funny.
have been great.
Oh, it was great because they had a farm. They had like 30 acres. They
my
grew
God.
watermelons and corn.
Oh.
So I learned that. And my grandfather, see, he was the old school grandfather. So he was the disciplinarian. He was cool, but my grandfather, we joke about it like he'd have been in all kind of jail for the stuff, but he was teaching us lessons, but he had his way, you know.
Right. He was tough.
You'd get down there and he'd give you a cup. And he's like, this is your cup. You ain't drinking from a new glass every time you said, you lose your cup.
Yeah.
You're gonna be thirsty. You know? So you knew to protect your cup, you know, but that was like,
so great.
But that's how he taught you stuff. And I remember I had these 2 cousins from San Francisco, my Aunt Neve, who I was talking about, to cook her kids. And those 2 brothers, me and my brother fought, but those 2 would fight like they wanted to kill each other.
Yeah.
So my grandfather just tied them together. He tied their wrists together and said, "You two, you figure out how to get along."
Oh my God.
And it's like it worked, you know. But yeah, he would do stuff like that.
That's hilarious.
That was, you know, my mother told us that my
Man.
uncle got arrested for something like, you know, 16 joyriding or whatever it was, and they called the house, and my grandfather said, "I don't know why he calling here. He figured out how to get in. He'll figure out how to get out." She said, my grandmother, like she had to make him go down and pick up his son from jail, because as far as he was concerned, he like, "Hey, you figured out how to get in, you'll figure out how to get out," you know.
Would your parents come down with you, or just you
No, they would send us down.
Get out of the city.
Right, the beginning of the summer, you think it's get out of the city, but it was get rid of the kids.
Right.
Now you know, like, oh, he was. So they'd send us down. I would go down there in June. My brother and sister would go to camp for a couple of weeks, and then they'd come down.
Right.
And then at the end of summer, and like the end of August, all the parents, you know, my mother and her sisters and all, everybody would come down to pick up their kids, and we'd have like a week where everyone would be there. The extended family would be there and stuff. So it was great, man. It would,
and she was just cooking for all you kids.
Yeah, my grandmother was a matriarch. She would cook and everything. And you know, but the other thing was, it was a different time, right? So they lived in this small town, but you could go to the highway, like you had a dirt road, you know, a mile or whatever, to get to the highway. You could go there as a 7, 8-year-old kid and hitchhike. Wow. Because whoever picked you up knew your family. Right. They would just ask, "Who are you?" Right. And it'd be like, "Oh, I'm Anna Lee." My mother was Anna Lee, that was her name. "I'm Anna Lee's son." "Oh, you from New York?" Yeah, jump in the truck. And you could do stuff like that. You couldn't do that now.
Just like public transportation.
Yeah, but back then, like, everybody knew each other, so they knew, if they didn't know you, they knew someone in your family. And I'm sure there were some bad things happening, but honestly, I never heard about any. Yeah. And it was never a lost kid that I knew of. Like, it was, you know, family and friends. It was smaller. Right. You took care of each other. And I'm sure that still exists in some places. Yeah. But I was fortunate because I got to experience that, but then I lived in New York City. So I got the New York City education. Sure. Like, they were fascinated that I had been on an airplane. Right. You know, to them, being on an airplane was completely out of their reality. And, you know, so it was. So I was lucky.
Wow, that is great. Yeah, man, it sounds like such a great picture as a kid to be able to be on this farm with this Southern cooking and be with your cousins.
I loved it. I loved it down there because, you could just go. You know, it was, and again, growing up in New York, it was so different than where I, came from. And when you're a kid, you don't know, like, when things are bad. Like, I was reading something somewhere where this guy said, we didn't know we were poor. Because the way he grew up, and you know, so it was like that. So now, when I look back, you know, my grandfather plowed the field. He had one of those old plows with a mule pulling it, right? Wow. And instead of a tractor, but I didn't know that as a kid. I thought it was Julia. His mule was like the coolest animal in the world. It's like, he has a mule, you know, and of course. So that, I still remember the name.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So that naivete you have as a kid makes it all an adventure.
It's all wonderful.
Yeah, it's you know, and you don't know the difference. Yeah. Because you haven't experienced.
But isn't it interesting that you had that, right? The sense of adventure and this thing.
So lucky to have had that.
Because you kind of are still living that way. Like you still like you're looking at this pandemic as, well, how is this going to be a challenge to me to go and perform? You're on your motorcycle all the time, flying around. You kind of still have that sense of adventure, which, who knows, if you hadn't had that growing up, you might have been a city kid that was a little more protected.
Yeah, that was where I did my first motorcycle ride, you know, down there. Some guy took us on a ride.
What was that bike like?
It was, you know, looking back, I had to think it was like, it had to be an old Triumph or a BSA. Yeah, oh my God. It was a British bike. Yeah. And he took us up and down that dirt road from the highway to the house.
Just the sound, I can hear the sound of it.
And I tell people, like, when I get on a bike today, I'm still that 7-year-old kid on the back of a bike. I mean, it was like flying. It was, and that it really struck me. It developed a love, a passion that I've had all my life. And you do a lot of interviews. You talk to a lot of people. I had someone interview me, and I always thought this was a great question. So I'm going to pose this question to you. Okay. What did you dream of as a kid that you actually do as an adult?
I think it's being on stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, for me, it's the motorcycles.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but I was like, yeah, that's a great question, because when you're a kid, you want everything, you know.
Right. Yeah,
And
but
then
the
you're an
ones that
adult,
hang in. Yeah.
as an adult, and I think a lot of us don't get any of it.
No, I know. Right. Exactly. Yeah. They don't get close to it.
Yeah, so we're lucky that we get to live a kid's dream in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Man, oh man, that's so cool. I mean, this is why I love doing the show, because I've known you for a long time, and it all makes. But I never get the chance to ask,
Right.
How did you grow? How did you spend your summers when you were 8 years old? But it fills in so many blanks. It makes total sense that you were surrounded by all of this, and that even going out to San Francisco and meeting up with Inez and I mean that these people were populating your life and helping you grow. It all makes perfect sense why you're such a cool guy.
And you know, the other thing was I don't know if loner was the right word, but I spent a lot of time myself in my imagination in these situations. You know what I mean? It was, and that's still true.
Right.
But I was introverted. Me and my brother talk about this. You know, we were definitely introverted, but experiencing, like my parents were big on read about it, go do it. Like that's how you learn. Like, read it, go, go, I don't know, go do it. You know, what you asking me for?
Right.
Go find out. You know, and it was great because you do learn more.
Yeah.
Like that, and again, I think that's what this generation, a lot of it is they're too protected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a nephew like that. I was like, man, this kid, he never saw his own blood growing up.
Right.
And I was like, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm sexist, maybe I'm a dinosaur or whatever, but I think for a little boy, you're supposed to see your own blood now and then. You're supposed to fall off a bike
Pick
or
a scab.
do something. That toughens you up. You know? I'm not saying you got to throw them in from a moving car, but every now and then, like little boys,
go live your life.
Little boys are supposed to go outside and get hurt, and they come home. I used to freak my mother out with some of my injuries.
Oh my God.
But that's part of being that's part of toughening. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
He was protected all the time, man. I got him a skateboard, and they're like, "Oh, you got to get him the elbow pads and the knee pads
lessons.
and the hip pads and the gloves and the helmet." I was like, "Well, then what's the purpose?"
Give that back. I'll give it to somebody else. Well, and by the way, my father says hello.
Oh, your dad was great.
He was a huge fan of yours.
That was still so much fun. When I first saw him, it was like, wow.
Yeah, at a biker rally.
No denying Tom. I mean, your dad was just you in the future. That's all. This is Tom in the future. Okay, now I know exactly how Tom's going to look.
Right, what he's going to turn into.
If your wife had any question as to who she was marrying, all she had to do was meet your dad and be like, all right, now I see. Yeah, it's going to end well. It's going to look good.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, he was cool, man. It was great.
At Lake George at the Americade. It's a big biker rally, and he still rides his motorcycles. They did it for this year.
For this year. They're talking about postponing, but who knows? Again, we live in a time where no, you can't have 30,000 motorcycle riders hit a town.
No, probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea. But he saw you there, and you were actually doing stand-up there.
Yeah, that's why I do a show, and it's my motorcycle show. It's all we do is like
all
just make fun of bikes and all.
So funny.
Because you know how it is when you have subcultures. If you're a part of it, when you get into it, you can joke about it. Right. Yeah. So that was good.
Awesome. Well, listen. This bread was made in a sterilized kitchen.
I'm taking my bread.
It was made pure. It is safe.
We
were both tested. We were both tested this week.
No, I trust you.
We're clean. We're safe.
I'm good. I thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for being on the show.
This was fantastic. This is going to be a good show. This is going to be a...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this is fun.
I think so. It's really amazing how food is an entry of into the rest of your life. So.
And we talk about this whenever we see each other, man. I love the mutual fandom and respect.
Absolutely.
I don't even know if you know how funny you are to all of us comics.
No.
Really. I mean, you're one of the artists. It's
right back at you.
Thank you.
Right back at you. Thanks, man.
So this was fun.
All right. I shake your hand, but
no, we don't want to freak them out.
We'll kiss when the camera's off.
Yeah, well, that's two consenting adults.
Yeah. Thanks, man.